All right, Mark, thank you for joining in today. And I'm really looking forward to talking with you about Brand Center versus Brand Kits. And let's find out whether that at all is a versus or maybe they complement each other. But there are these two terms that are floating around the ecosystem since a while. And we recently had a conversation in an MVP communities channel where you were looking for a means to tell Copilot in SharePoint to use specific assets or to build based on a brand information. And the thing you knew from SharePoint Online, obviously, is the SharePoint Brand Center, which I don't know that well, and I'm looking forward to learning more about that from you. And I showed you or I told you there's something called brand kits in Copilot that Copilot relies on. And that's used in many places. And I would like to show you around what such a brand kit is, how it's built, and how it can be used. Maybe
Thing.
a kind of a personal introduction as well at this point, because I already mentioned you are from the SharePoint side. I think you're a very seasoned MVP for SharePoint. Can you give us some background on that?
Sure. I guess I'm one of the old guys in the SharePoint space because I've been working with it for decades now. I work for Sympraxis Consulting. We're a virtual company, and we do work on Microsoft 365, Azure. Sort of the side of things that doesn't necessarily include Copilot, though we're doing a lot of Copilot preparedness and readiness these days. As we talked about before we started the recording, a lot of the same problems that people have had all along. I love information architecture. I love setting up the platform so that it does what it's supposed to do, as opposed to just sort of dumping a lot of files into it. So that's my sort of framing. Always use the technology for what it will really help you do, and understand how to get from where you are to where you want to be.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So I'm one of the guys helping people work with Copilot. So they should, as you already said before, they should probably come to us for a Copilot pilot project or a rollout project after they got the basics right, got the collaboration maturity to the levels they need for really have much value from AI assistance. And I'm only in my second year as an MVP, just started there for Copilot and now Loop. And that's why I'm focusing on the Copilot side, and I'm really keen to see what's up with the SharePoint side there. So because we have these kind of matching or adding somehow two topics, and let's get started with the brand kit.
I think based on our conversation in that MVP channel, I realized that these are two capabilities that work in complementary ways. They're not necessarily just different things that don't match up. And you helped me understand that. So that's what led to this.
I've seen you already wrote an extensive blog article on that. I think we're going to link that in the description of the video so people can find that as well, where you
Great.
started comparing, and we're looking into the details live now. So these brand kits, most people don't find them or see them because they are well hidden. We have a few interfaces where we can reference a brand kit, some brand information, but how do we create them? So they are well hidden. I noticed that also MVPs struggle to find them because they are hidden in Copilot in the waffle menu, meanwhile. So where we bring up apps and more, they have to create experience. Even that's new to many people. So why would you find that if you're not told that's something useful? So in the create experience, I can not only create assets like images and other things, but I can also create brand kits. This requires a Copilot premium license. Without the premium license, I don't have the ability to create brand kits, although I have access to the create experience, but I only can collect brand templates, so Office template documents in a so-called brand template. But we are looking for brand kits. That's the real thing here. And They started a little different. In the past, we had to have special permissions to create a brand kit. In the beginning, that was only limited to people that have a certain role and could create and share these. Meanwhile, any user with a premium license, Copilot premium license, can create and even share a brand kit. But there's a difference between user-generated and organization brand kits. So we still have a special role of brand managers in the organization, and only these people that are enabled through group membership and the policy, only they can share for the organization. So under this search vertical, there would appear brand kits that are shared for the organization. So they are official kits built by the organizations. But I have created one myself, and I could create others here. And let's look into such a brand kit. What's that for? This is an AI-generated avatar of my MVP persona as Copilot Sensei, and that's also the name of the brand kit I gave here. And what's inside this brand kit is quite a lot of information that builds a brand, that builds the foundation to produce on-brand assets, right? So we can add logos, templates. These are actually Office document templates. We'll see that in a minute. Fonts and other pieces here. And to tell you the truth, I did not create this brand kit manually. I had the Manage Brand Kits function here create that for me based on a PDF file I handed it. So under sources, I can see that I gave it a PDF file, Copilot Sensei Brand Kit. This one, I can show that here as well. This one has been created by Cowork for me. Right after the release of Cowork into Frontier, I started to really build out my persona and my brand as Copilot Sensei. I had that idea before, but I did not have the tools to really build all that branding information. So I'm not a brand designer or something. What I had was this avatar image. That's what I handed over to it, and the presentation, the PowerPoint file actually, that I already designed. I handed that over to Cowork and told it, create a brand definition, a brand kit that can be used for everything. And what it created was this PDF file. And then I used that PDF file and gave that to the Copilot Create experience here in Manage Brand Kits, build a brand kit based on that. What it did is mainly it put in these color palettes. Those are taken straight from the PDF file. So color definitions that can be used in assets created based on my branding, which also include color guidelines. So that was also mentioned in the PDF already, when to use which on what background and so on. What I later had to add manually actually were things like the explicit naming of the font. This came later in the process already, but it did receive the font guidelines from the PDF. Same with the logo. That was not extracted somewhere. It did not add my input into that, but I uploaded this as a logo now. And the logo guidelines, they were taken from the PDF file, same as other things in here. So other images, these have been uploaded manually. These are brand images that can be used. For example, I'm going to have a look at that in a minute, in PowerPoint to create or use images from the brand kit, as well as icons. Don't have any in here. And one interesting piece for not only visual assets that are generated, but also for text. So for content, you can add a brand voice here. This is pretty limited. This only provides 1,000 characters of space for a natural language definition of the brand voice that should be the foundation of spoken or written content to be created. I think that's a little too little space for a real voice definition. I don't know what you think about that, but that's what's available currently.
I mean, what the thing that I think is really cool about this, when I first started looking at it, was that you could just upload your brand kit. You know, most communication departments have some notion of a brand kit, though surprisingly a lot don't. You know, just a document that explains their brand. Often they'll get that from an outside designer, and then it might talk about things like voice and logo usage, and how do you use logos? What are the rules? All that stuff. And you could just bring that right in and then tune it. And that process is very quick. And because we're talking about Copilot, it's pretty smart. I mean, it does a very good job. I just uploaded our Sympraxis Brand Kit, and it sort of, I was amazed. Okay, cool. This is the Copilot world, which is where I don't spend as much time. And I was impressed. It's useful. What I would be interested in your take on is a lot of organizations, because they either use the brand center or they use organizational assets in SharePoint, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, but they already have those files stored somewhere, specifically templates and logos. So how can you connect to where those files already exist, not just from the brand kit document?
Yeah. Actually, I'm not sure whether they enable really a connection like a reference or going to do that. And I totally understand and also see that issue, because it's not as we're starting with branding at all in the ecosystem. So there are brand details, brand basics already, as you said, not only in PDFs or files that can be extracted into here, but also in templates. So I can reference templates here, but I cannot reference them from where they are. I have to upload them. I have to add them to the brand kit here. So I can browse the cloud and find them there, but I think they are being uploaded and stored with the brand kit then. So there's a copy. And we don't like copies, don't we?
No, and it's interesting because the documentation for brand kits make it feel like you can just point to assets you already have stored in an organizational assets library. But my take is the same as yours. It's that you actually end up with a copy of it here. So if you change it over there, you're not going to have that change here. So I would expect that's something that will get better over time.
That could be a little smarter, yes. So I did not test that, whether any updates to the file, the template in the asset library are represented here, but I believe it's an upload. So just guesswork at the moment, but yeah. So actually I added a master template for PowerPoint here, and we could also add the templates for Word in here, so they can be referenced from the respective applications. That means if I'm gonna create a presentation from scratch or based on some slides that are already there, I can reference this brand kit. And I'm going to kick that off because it may take some time. So I'm going to switch over to a fresh new presentation in PowerPoint here. And I'm going to bring up Copilot, if Copilot likes, yeah. And I would like it to create a shiny presentation of, and let's see, I think there already also is a Word document, right? That was also created by CoWork based on my input regarding image and persona of Copilot Sensei, what's my background, what I would like to present and so on. And that's described in this Word document. I'm asking Copilot and PowerPoint to create a presentation based on that. And I'm going to reference the brand kit through the plus sign here. I can choose skills, yes, but I can select a brand. And that's where I can actually reference a brand kit. I can also switch over to manage kits. That's going to lead me directly to the thing we've seen before. And I'm going to reference this brand kit here. So it finds a template, a PowerPoint template, and additional information to base the presentation on. And while that's working on here, it may ask some questions, some clarifying questions, going to wait for that. And then meanwhile, we can have a look at other spaces where I can reference this brand kit, because it would be a little poor if I only would have the ability to use that in PowerPoint, although that's one of the most prominent pieces probably where brand or on-brand information should be created. It's not yet asking questions. Here are the clarifying questions. Which imagery should the deck use? Brand plus AI images. That's the recommended selection. That implies the brand kit visuals first. So there are visuals in the brand kit, and Copilot in PowerPoint can use these visuals, the images that are taken from the brand kit, the ones we've seen a few minutes ago that I saved with the brand kit. And if it doesn't find something matching for certain things, it can generate new ones using Copilot directly in here. I can make it stick to brand images only, so don't generate anything, but I'm going to go with brand plus AI images. And let's see.
So this feels like it's a bit of a looser concept of a brand than what a communications department often would want, or a marketing department. You know, they want everything to be on brand, and sometimes that's a little bit harder to understand. Here, you're using the brand kit almost as an assistant. It's a way to help come up with a PowerPoint deck that just sort of looks right. It doesn't mean that it's going to be exactly what the brand is, because you're including AI images, for example. Maybe those wouldn't be on brand.
Yeah.
But it's a great leg up for, you know, starting a deck like this.
Yeah.
I think that's where the real power is.
Yeah, so you can actually make it a little more strict if you enable the strict mode here, so strict brand adherence. At least it will not generate new layouts or slides with layouts that are not defined in the master. So the PowerPoint master consists of master layouts, and if you want to only use these to be really on brand, you can enable that here, and then you would of course select only brand images. But yeah, I have the freedom to select other.
If you did want to sort of enforce that, you have the strict mode. Is the strict mode apply to each of those different sections, or is it just the template?
It's only for the
strict brand adherence
template here, so we'll not create new layouts. That only refers to the template usage.
And logos, for example, you don't have that same kind of setting.
Right. So it will not generate a new logo if you ask it to only use brand material.
Okay.
But
yeah. So it's from the template setting, it inherits that in essence.
It takes a little while, so let's look at another interface where we can use that. That's the Copilot Create experience again. So in the Create experience, I can create assets like images and what might also be interesting, infographics and things like that. And here I can also select a brand and color. So I can also reference the brand kit to make the image generation adhere to the guidelines given in that brand kit. So I don't have to prompt all the color codes and everything into the image generation here. And there are more interfaces, but these are the most prominent. So the Create experience itself, PowerPoint really focuses or relies a lot on brand kits, and they are, recently was in conversation with the team, they are encouraging everyone to focus more on the brand kits for branding information, yes. So
the interesting thing is, if you click that PowerPoint button, you don't have that option, right? So
I don't know if people are using this.
There's no, I mean, maybe there's a way to sort of get it to look at the brand kit, but I expect that this will become more consistent, right? Because depending on your entry point, you see different options in Copilot. As we know, that's a constant moving target.
Absolutely. Perfectly right, because yeah, that's does not have any reference to that. I don't know if people are using this interface, the Create experience, to create actual Office documents. I don't encourage that because, well, I have way less options here than through Copilot in the app directly.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's different interfaces giving totally different options. So that's a bad thing, I guess. The Microsoft team is also still working on the option in Cowork to use a brand kit. So that's not yet there. You cannot ask Cowork to use a brand kit, but they have been talking about that should happen in the future. Looking forward to that. So these are the most prominent interfaces, the Create experience itself, PowerPoint, obviously. I don't know if I can reference that in Copilot and SharePoint, actually. I've not tried that. But I don't think there's a plus icon where I can reference a brand kit to make it create an on-brand page.
I don't think so. I could be wrong. So I'm just curious, what other, I know you've shown a couple of, there you go. I know you've shown a couple of the entry points where you can ask for the brand kit to be used. How have you used it in your work? Are you regularly using brand kits when you're creating slide decks like this?
Yeah, so these are the two main entry points actually I'm using. So I'm creating images quite often. And I'm using a brand kit there, so the reference to a brand kit. And also when creating slides, I'm referencing that. Yes, these are the two things I'm using regularly. And by the way, using the create experience to create images to use in presentations has become a lot less recently because Copilot can do that so well straight in PowerPoint, meanwhile.
Right here, yeah.
So I ask it to create images, to visualize things and so on, and it's actually just doing that.
One of the things that I tried recently was I was just generating an image for a blog post. And I said, before I had created a brand kit, I just said, make it look like Sympraxis, my company. And it made it purple and green, our sort of brand colors, without us having any real without a brand kit yet. So obviously it can pick up sort of what's out on the web and things like that. But in this case, you're giving it much clearer instruction with that brand kit.
Yeah. And it did just that. It used my template with these gradients and this introductory slide, which is already in the template, and it used the layouts that are in the template. And here I think it generated a new image. I don't think that's, oh, it might be in the brand kit. Let's see. Images. I think I've seen something like that before, but it's not here now. It's not here.
But what it did was consistent with what you have for imagery.
Absolutely. So it's brand consistent for my level of branding, I'd say. So that's what brand kits deliver at this point, and I'm curious to see what the brand center is about.
Okay. Well, thanks for that. I mean, that's really helpful. I think that one of the things that I always think about when I look at anything about Copilot now is where are they going to end up, as opposed to where are they right now. So, for example, you can't, when you do create. And by the way, I think I was the one who you told me where that create button was. I could not find it. I did not know where it is. And Copilot kept telling me it's in the upper left. No, it's not. So, they'll work these kinks out. But, the fact that you can't reference the brand kit from that, create a Copilot, or sorry, a PowerPoint thing. I expect all of that's going to change. Some people who know me think of me as a real cynic. I see them heading in the right direction. And so I keep my fingers crossed that they keep going in that direction. Now, the brand center, I think serves a different purpose. I mean, what I learned in researching this and in talking to you is the brand center is more about how do you want your intranet or your basically your SharePoint sites to look. And the brand kit is more about how you generate content that manifests that brand. That split to me all of a sudden made having two different things make sense. I would like them to be very consistent. And that's where I'm hoping they get a better job. Like the templates should be, you should have one template for your PowerPoints. Now in SharePoint, we also have content types, so we can have different templates for content types. So it's more complicated, but from a Copilot perspective, I think what they did is making good sense. So the brand center in SharePoint is a special site. There are a number of different special sites in SharePoint. There's the content type hub. And the brand center is similar in that you create a brand. It's called the brand center, but by default, Microsoft names it the brand guide. So if you say you want to create a new brand center, you get a site called brand guide. Inconsistent, but we'll live with it. What you get is a site that looks just like a communication site. You can't tell anything from this homepage other than the fact that one of us put in hello world in this demo tenant. You can't tell that it's a brand center. The only way you can tell is to go to the site settings and look at brand center. So that's how I got to where I am. Now here, right now, the only things that you can manage are fonts and colors. And then those can be applied to different sites as themes. And it's actually a theme and then a font package. So this to me is more the communications team wants everything to follow a particular color scheme and a font scheme, and we're going to dictate it a bit. It's not as loose, if you will, though you'll see that there's some looseness to it as well. So the first thing that you tend to do, I think, at least the way I always think about this, is you tend to set up your brand colors. So this is just building your palette. When you uploaded your brand guide, it just sort of automatically made you those palettes. Here we have to actually add each color manually. Wouldn't it be great if they embedded Copilot in this? Well, or brought these two things together a bit more so that we didn't need to have two. But basically we add a color. That's an awful color. Let me see if I can find one that I find attractive. That's an attractive color. So, test green. And, is this available in themes? And that one is a yes. So here's my color. We have colors from different demo things that we've put together here. So you build your color palettes up. It's an interesting thing because the Brand Center has been around for a little bit of time, but it doesn't give you capabilities to do some interesting things like I'd like to delete that test color. I can't. There may be a PowerShell commandlet for that. There may not. So you can see that this is more of a monolithic setup. You're setting it up. You're doing it for everyone. This is for the tenant, and you're sort of enforcing that. The second thing is you come up with your brand fonts. And one of the things that I think we always need to stress is licensing matters here. You may have some font files lying around on your hard drive that you think you want to use, but if you haven't licensed them for commercial use in this way, you can get yourself into trouble. So just think about that. And you can upload any font files, sort of the standard kinds of font files, and build up your font inventory, if you will. And as you can tell, most of this is stored in SharePoint libraries inside this site because it looks a lot like a list view or library view. So now we've created our colors, we've created our fonts, then we can apply our brand. Can decide whether we want to use that brand in SharePoint or in Viva Connections. To me, you really ought to be thinking about the two pretty much the same, but a lot of people think about them differently. So if we go into SharePoint branding, what we can do is create different font packages from that inventory of fonts that I've uploaded, and we can create new themes based on the colors that we've defined. So if I create a new font package, I can pick a display font, I can pick a content font, next, and it's very easy to come up with something that looks absolutely horrible here if you don't pay attention. But then you can get very specific about titles, headlines, body, interactive, things like buttons and stuff like that. So you can take those fonts and decide how you want to apply them. Let's use Barlow and let's use the medium weight for the headline. let's take the title. We're going to use XO2, and we're going to use it in italic. And basically make all of these choices. I'm going to do this, and I'm not going to save it because you can't get rid of it, unfortunately. And then you give your package a name. So test package.
So if you save that, it's there and it will stay there until you delete the brand center site or something.
Yeah, I believe that's true. Let's just do it because this is our demo tenant, and I'm going to go into site contents because I think that this stuff goes into libraries. So I'm in the brand guide site, and I'm just looking to see where does this stuff go? Oh, nope, it's not in the library. So I can't even sort of sneak in through the back and clean things up. So
okay.
I feel like they've still got some distance to go on this to make it. Yeah, if you have a new brand, for example, you probably just want to get rid of some of the old stuff. I like to keep things clean. It's a little bit of an obsession, not to have a lot of junk lying around. Now I'm going to have a junk font package lying around. Themes are similar. You can create a new theme. You can add colors to your theme. All of the colors that are available in your brand color library are available. So you sort of have to know what you've set up and why you've set it up. Isn't that awful? So you can decide what combinations you want to use. You can define different colors, and you can sort of see roughly how it's going to look and where the colors are defined. So again, it's a bit more. That's right. I can't add all of them at once. It's a bit more of a rigid setup process, but you can see you can add the different colors to your theme. And I'll just sort of accept it and agree that it's a horribly weird looking theme. But then that theme becomes something that's available to people in all sites.
So then when people create a page on their site, they can select which theme to use, but they cannot go astray. They have to use one of the defined themes, right?
Well, that's where it's a little looser than some communications folks would certainly want it to be. I'm just going to create a new communication site. We tend to worry more about branding on communication sites that are part of an intranet than we do team sites. Whether it's red or blue for the HR team may or may not matter, but you can apply the same theme to a site like that. And this should take 7 seconds, maybe 10 seconds. Things are a little slower today. Out of the box communication site. SharePoint teal looks just like everybody else's communication site. But if you go in to change the look, you have an option here to pick a theme. And you can see we've got some themes defined with those colors in this tenant. So there are, if you think about it, all of these down here from Microsoft, those are available to me as the site owner. So I don't have to pick something that is sort of corporate provided, but I probably want to.
You can't get rid of those provided by Microsoft.
Not that I'm aware. I could do this so I don't have to look at them. But no, Microsoft loves to give a bunch of samples of things and then you can't get rid of them or you can't hide them. And I think that's unfortunate. But if I pick one of these themes, it'll manifest that theme and it will show you what it's going to look like. And then if you save, then you've got that theme applied to that site. So that's a pretty painless thing. You have to do that work up front, but then you've got that theme and it's available. There are two different kinds of themes in SharePoint. There's sort of the traditional theme, which we had to create using PowerShell. Pretty painless, but still you had to create it with PowerShell. And then these are, we don't ever know what to call the next thing, but we'll call them modern themes. And they have a lot more settings in them because you saw that I can pick which color is applied to which kind of thing. There's a bunch of tuning things. So So you're seeing when you do change the look, you're seeing a mix of that sort of traditional theme and the more modern theme.
All right.
And then if I wanted to change the fonts for this site, these are Microsoft's sort of demo options, which I can't get rid of. And then I have fonts that are part of my font package. So you can see this just changed. It's a little quick. I'll pick a different one. See that these fonts are changing. So you're applying your font package to that site. So now when you create pages, so I'll create a new page, it's going to inherit that that set of that theme and that set of, or that font package. I'm going to pick one at random. I have no idea what it looks like, but you can see that that font is one of the is the package that I've applied. It's not the out of the box Sego or Segoe. I don't know how that word is pronounced. Segoe. I've never heard anyone at Microsoft say it, so I don't know. But you can see that it's not necessarily applying all of the colors. It's because this is an image that's part of a template. It's bringing in images here. You see the font. You see colors where there's text, right? So it's actually formatting based on your theme. And if you go to format this, I'm trying to find, you should see the font colors from the theme here. So it's, if I want to adhere to the theme, I can. If I want to get wacky and make something yellow, I can also do that.
All right. So actually the Brand Center packages are really for designing SharePoint pages, SharePoint content from scratch, or pulling that over an existing page, right?
Yeah. So I think the intent with the Brand Center is to, want something here. The intent with the Brand Center, I believe, and as they were coming into it, was to have the Brand Center be more robust, to have more aspects of brand in it. What I don't know is where they're going to go with the Brand Center from here, because right now it does fonts and colors, and that's it. Now that's very helpful, and that does lead to having more consistent sites. And in fact, in this tenant, we have a couple of sites that are designed by someone who works with us, Stefan Bauer, over in Austria. He's a great designer, so he's designed this site, and it uses a custom SharePoint theme and a custom SharePoint font package. So it's consistent. All of your communication sites or your team sites could look similar. But it's it was interesting seeing the brand kit because it's so much broader. They both sort of do their own thing, and I would love to see them do their own thing but be connected.
Yeah. And then we start having an overlap at that point where we create new pages in SharePoint through AI. So we use AI in SharePoint, Copilot in SharePoint, to create a new page. And wouldn't it be nice to have Copilot then use at least one, or possibly the stronger, the more extensive one, the brand kit, to generate that? I think that's not yet the case, is it?
Yeah, to be honest, we don't have a Copilot license in this tenant. So if I create a new page and I want to use our brand kit, how do you specify it?
Try clicking on the plus sign in the prompt field, but there we don't have any reference to a brand.
So
that's the usual spot to find that.
Yeah, so it's not sort of upfront and obvious. Now I did say create page, so let me go back. Let me try it from here. No, so ask a question about this site.
So
So I don't
it's
think
not
that's
very-
wired together yet.
Yeah. So that's going to be interesting to see in the next weeks and months whether they bring these together. What's the
Yeah,
future of Brand Center? Because Brand Kit seems so much more extensive, so much more powerful actually, because we have font in there, we have color palettes
right.
that might suffice if they get that connection to SharePoint, right?
Yeah.
Might be
Well,
interesting.
and one other thing that's probably worth saying is Brand Center doesn't require any Copilot licensing at all. It's
That's
a sort of out of the box capability depending on your licensing, but pretty
of
much out of
course.
the box in SharePoint. So for people who don't have Copilot licenses or haven't gotten there yet, Brand Center is certainly a way to build your intranet, for example, and make sure it's consistent.
Yes.
So in some sense, it's the right starting point for enforcement of some sort with your brand, and then the content generation, which I think we'd agree that that's really where Brand Kit is going to shine, is when you're generating content like the
Right.
PowerPoint you made,
Mhm.
which might end up in your intranet, but it's generating that content. Pages are a little different. I mean, they've always been different. They're ASPX pages, they're not PowerPoint. We can do some of the same kinds of things with pages, but typically they're not thought of as, they're not thought of as files, they're thought of as pages. So
Different kind, yeah. So
yeah.
thank you very much, and thank you also for pointing that out because I tend to take Copilot licenses for granted, of course.
Yeah.
But it's
And
very important. The brand
yeah,
kit requires having a Copilot license. So
right.
then
And most of the people you work with in your consulting are coming to you to work with Copilot. So of course you have Copilot. Most of the clients that we have, not most, but I'd say a large majority don't have Copilot, and either they're just not ready for it, or they want to get ready before they go and roll it out.
yeah, that's the right way to go actually. So they are honest,
Absolutely.
they are clear, and that they are not yet there. That's good to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mark. That was really fun, and I learned a lot. I think that's a great insight or great insights, and I hope the viewers will like that too. I'm pretty sure, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's going on in the future with these two pieces.
Me too. Let's stay in touch and make sure that we share what we find out along the
Right?
way.
Okay. So
Thanks
thank
for
you.
having me on.
Very well. Very glad. My pleasure. I wish you to have a nice day because you only started into your day. I'm going to leave for the evening now, and we'll see you
Have a
soon.
nice night.
Thank you.
All
Bye
right.
bye,
Bye-bye.
Mark. Thank you.